Yo, what is good, Ice Gang? Iceman here, and today we got a reaction video, and what we're reacting to is great people who weren't good people. So we're gonna figure out some of the greats that weren't actually good people. Shout out Bofeng Chang, I guess it was inspired by, and then shout out to YouTuber is this? Calvin. I'm gonna just go with that. If I botched it, I'm sorry. But don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can grow the family, so we can do more things. Have fun with this. I love y'all, Ice Gang, and let's get into the video.
Great people who did some not so great things. Like very not great. You'll see what I mean. First up, Dr. Seuss. Turns out the man behind Green Eggs and Ham served up some seriously questionable behavior on the side. First, let's talk about Theodore Geisel's idea of loyalty. Yes, that's his real name. While his first wife, Helen, was battling a debilitating illness and severe depression, Geisel decided that was a perfect time to have an affair. Because nothing says in sickness and in health like breaking your vows, right? Helen eventually discovered the affair, and the devastation drove her to write a heartbreaking note before tragically ending her life. And what did Dr. Seuss do in the wake of this tragedy? He married his mistress less than a year later.
He not right, man. He not right. Dr. Seuss, man. He could come up with good rhymes, couldn't come up with a good time. Because that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's one way to process grief.
Backdoor.
But it doesn't stop there. Before he was rhyming about Loraxes and Sneeches, Geisel had a darker artistic
Shout out
side.
Patsy C. Drink
During
your water.
World War II, he turned out a series of political cartoons that were blatantly racist, particularly towards Japanese Americans. He even supported the internment camps. It's hard to reconcile that with the guy who taught us that a person's a person no matter how small.
Bro, and that's why that's really weird, though. Because the lessons he was teaching. Dang, bro. Nah, that's wild.
And let's not forget the contradictions. This is the same man who later wrote stories about equality and acceptance, like the Sneeches, which carried a moral about rejecting prejudice. So, was it personal growth or PR redemption?
PR
We'll
redemption.
Never know. But
No
hearing a
redemption.
Who suddenly feels a lot less heartwarming when you know what Geisel
They
thought
going
of
right
real
now.
people.
They do the
Next
same thing
up,
right now.
Einstein.
You know.
The fellow who
Einstein.
made E equals MC squared a household equation.
Yo. Call me dumb, call me ignorant, call me whatever. I still don't know what you use E equals MC squared for. Like, what's that equation for? I know it's a big equation he figured out, but what is that? Is that the equation of relativity or what? What does that use for? Like, what did that open up the door for? Because it's such a big equation, E equal MC squared. If y'all can let me know, I would really love to know. Is that just like is that the theory of relativity? Like, I think that's what he's also known for, right? Is that what that equation is?
And basically wrote the playbook for modern physics. But while he was busy unraveling the mysteries of the universe, his personal life was less scientific genius and more daytime soap opera. Let's start with his first wife, Mileva Marique. She wasn't just his spouse, she was also a physicist in her own right.
Okay.
Some historians believe Mileva might have contributed to his early breakthroughs, including his groundbreaking theories. So how did Einstein repay her? By treating her like an unpaid lab assistant, of course.
What kind of car do you drive?
A 2022 Tesla Model Y.
Crazy,
Why?
bro.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you pay for car
Get the
insurance?
fuck out my face.
While his name was going on papers and awards, hers wasn't even in the footnotes. And when their marriage started to crumble, Einstein did not try to fix things. Instead, he handed Mileva a list of conditions for staying married. This masterpiece of romance included demands like, "You will not expect any intimacy from me," and
Why?
"You will keep the bedroom and study tidy." Because nothing says marital bliss like a man too busy for
Why?
affection but very concerned about dusting. Eventually, she had enough and left. And Einstein, did he reflect, grow, and try to be better? Nope, he turned around and married his cousin, Elsa.
Bro.
Yup, the same guy who reshaped
backdoor.
the way we see the cosmos, thought that keeping it all in the family was a perfect idea.
Nah.
Then, while married to Elsa, he
Keep it
didn't
all
quite
in the
decide to
family.
walk a straight line. He had multiple affairs, often admitting to them in letters as if fidelity was some optional social experiment. Sure, the guy was a genius, but evidently,
Smacking
intelligence and
shit.
emotional maturity are not related in any
Smacking
way.
shit.
While he was
Smacking shit.
redefining physics, he was also redefining what it meant to be a horrible partner. Winston Churchill, you know him, the cigar-smoking, speech-giving British leader who helped save the world in World War II.
Facts.
His never-surrender attitude kept Britain going when things looked hopeless. And
Facts.
honestly, he deserves credit for being a major reason the Nazis didn't win. But here's the thing. Churchill wasn't all speeches and glory. He made some really questionable decisions, and they weren't exactly tiny mistakes. Take the Bengal famine of 1943, for example. Millions of people in India.
Damn. I'm not even trying to be funny. It's just like, damn, bro. He caused this. And we still talk about, you know, I can't even, I don't even think I can say his name, but you know. If you know, you know. This shit look
He had died of starvation,
crazy.
and Churchill had the power to help. But instead of sending food, he redirected supplies to Europe and let grain rot in ports. His excuse? He blamed the famine on Indians, quote-unquote, breeding like rabbits. That's not just insensitive, that is straight up cruel.
Bro!
While people were dying,
Nah.
their leader basically said, not my problem.
Bro, that's
Then
crazy.
there's the Tony Pandy riots
That's
in
actually
1910,
crazy,
back when
though.
Churchill was Home Secretary. Coal miners in Wales went on strike for better pay, and Churchill sent in actual troops. These weren't violent rebels, they were just workers trying to survive. And the result was violent clashes that left a lasting scar in the community. Maybe sending in soldiers to deal with peaceful strikers was not the brightest idea.
Nah, he's a
And
goofy.
let's not forget Dresden in
He's a
1945. Churchill ordered the bombing of the German city, which killed tens of thousands of civilians. The city was practically leveled, and historians
What does that sound like in today's society? Okay, then.
say it
If
didn't
you don't
serve
know,
much of
you're
a military
lost.
purpose.
If you know, you're
It
locked
looked
in.
more like revenge than strategy. Here's the deal. Churchill's leadership in World War II was incredible, and it's why he's remembered as a hero. But he also made decisions that caused a lot of harm. He wasn't perfect. No one is.
Right.
It's just funny how the history books don't spend that much time on this stuff.
Because, bro,
Moving on to Tom.
all history you read, all history you read, anywhere you're at, is gonna be skewed towards the face of whatever country you're at, making sure they keep face. So I even knew, you know what I mean, when I'm here, I'm in the US, obviously. I'm reading these history books, I'm reading certain stuff, I'm like, man, they sugarcoating this shit. And you just gotta understand that and know that and be at a higher thinking level than that. So that's all it is.
Thomas Edison, the so-called Wizard of Menlo Park, who's credited with inventing just about everything. The light bulb, phonograph, movies. But here's the thing. Edison's real talent wasn't inventing. It was marketing. Let's start.
Now taxes is getting up to $4,000 instantly.
Anyway, so that's you know what I mean. That's so good. You gotta be able to market. You have to be able to market. Bro,
Start with the light bulb. Edison didn't actually invent it. No, he just improved on the existing design and got the patent. A genius? Sure. Original?
Alright, and a lot of people had discussions about this, but okay, here's the thing. If you have a product you feel strongly about, patent it. Get it in legal documents that no one else can steal your design or idea or anything like that. You can do that. You have the choice to. You just heard he just did that. It was already an idea. It was already thought of. It was already something, right? He just patented it and made it better and marketed it. So if he did it, why would you be the person that gets the idea stolen versus being the person that gets the idea secured, right? Because he's the one who got the idea. He's the one who got the idea secured, but there was someone else who just had the idea. You have to have the idea and secure it.
Not so much.
If you believe in it.
And
Though.
this wasn't a one-time thing. He did it over and over again.
Oh, shit.
Taking credit for the work of people like Joseph Swan, who'd been working on light bulbs before Edison even got started. And then there's Nikola Tesla, the poor guy who made the mistake of working for Edison. Edison promised Tesla $50,000 for fixing his machines, but when Tesla actually did it, Edison laughed it off and said, "Oh, that was just a joke." Can you imagine doing months of work only to get hit with, haha, just
I'm
kidding.
breaking that shit. I don't care,
But the
bro.
real
No,
drama
you're not
was
violating
the
me like that.
War
I'm
of the
breaking shit.
Currents. Edison was pushing for his direct current DC system, while Tesla's alternating current AC was gaining traction. So what did Edison do? He went full petty mode. He spread lies about AC being dangerous and even electrocuted animals, including an elephant, just to make his point.
Bro.
Yep, the guy who brought us the light bulb also brought us public animal electrocutions.
He's geeked.
What a legacy.
Just to prove a point.
So, was Edison smart?
He's fried.
Absolutely. But let's not ignore the fact that he was also a ruthless businessman who didn't mind stepping on a few necks.
What does that sound like today, though? What does that sound like today? We don't have people like that in today's society? Come on, bro. Come on.
Or
there's sharks out there. We're all in the ocean.
To get ahead.
There's sharks out there. We're
Next
all in the
up,
ocean.
Gandhi. The
Gandhi.
man, the myth, the Mahatma. He
Gandhi.
preached nonviolent, self-discipline, and being the change.
How's he?
But his personal life and beliefs didn't always match the
Gandhi.
glossy image that history handed us. Let's start at home. Literally.
Okay.
Gandhi's spiritual experiments involved sleeping next to naked young women, including his teenage grandniece, to test his chastity. Because apparently controlling your urges is easier with your relatives in bed. Unsurprisingly, his
You're geeked. Gandhi. You're geeked. You're geeked. Gandhi, you're geeked.
wife,
You're geeked, Gandhi.
Kasturba,
You're geeked.
wasn't a fan of his methods or his controlling behavior. When she had
Geek.
pneumonia, Gandhi refused to let her take penicillin because it wasn't natural. She died. Meanwhile, when malaria struck Gandhi himself, he took medicine without hesitation. Funny how his principles only applied when someone else was suffering.
Back door, bro. A lot. It just looks like from here, most of these people is just backdoor gods. Like backdoor gods. Like they just know how to just backdoor any situation. And they just ready just to, some shit don't work out. Backdoor that shit. Like
Then there's South Africa. While Gandhi fought for Indian rights, his opinions about black Africans were shockingly racist. For a man who preached equality, his actions suggested he wasn't interested in applying that philosophy universally. And let's talk politics.
what?
Gandhi's insistence on strict nonviolence during India's independence movement wasn't as noble as it sounds.
Why?
While British forces were massacring civilians, Gandhi demanded restraint, even when fighting back might have saved lives. Some critics argue that his inflexible ideals prolonged suffering, making him as much of a roadblock as a leader. So, was Gandhi the saint he's
So he's basically saying because he told them not to retaliate, they just kept getting killed and kept getting killed to the point where they're like, damn, bro, they're not even fighting back. And we just keep killing them. We ass. Like, think about it, you killing a side so much to the point that, and they're not fighting back at all, to the point where you have to just stop because it's like, dang, bro, they're not even fighting back. They're not even telling them to fight back, and we still killing them. Yeah, we just ass. I think that's just boredom. You drill for so long, you get bored of it.
made out to be? Not even close. He had ideas that changed the world, but behind the slogans and spinning wheels was a man whose flaws couldn't be ignored. So, Mother Teresa. You've probably heard that she's the saintly figure who helped the poor and the sick,
Mother
right?
Teresa?
Well, not so fast. There's a lot of stuff in her story.
Nah, Mother
Welcome
Teresa.
to the future of press wires.
Bro, I don't
EIN
care about
press
no
wire.
wire pressing
Everyone-
or pressing
That
a
doesn't
wire
exactly scream
or
perfect
wire
saint.
or,
Let's take a closer look. First
or-
off, her homes for the dying. These places were supposed to be about giving sick people care, but in reality, they were more like suffering warehouses. People were lying on cots in pain, and there was little to no medicine to help them feel better. Needles, reused over and over. And Mother Teresa, she thought this was a good thing. She literally said, there is something beautiful in seeing the poor accept their lot, to suffer it like Christ's passion. Sounds wonderful,
Bro,
in theory, but not so much for the people actually screaming in agony. Then there's money. There's always money.
Yeah.
She was amazing at fundraising. Rich people couldn't hand over their cash fast enough. But where'd all that money go? Not to improving those homes. Millions of dollars disappeared, tucked away in secret accounts. A former
What?
volunteer once said there was no transparency. Nobody knew where the money was going. That doesn't exactly scream responsible charity.
And this is why I don't, bro. I believe, right? If you have faith, that's great. Believe in your faith. Don't invest in nothing that is material. Because from what I understand, I'm not a big, oh, this is the right religion, this is right. I'm not that big of a guy, right? I feel like having faith of whatever kind is good just to make you grounded and lead you in a path that you want to go, right? My point is, basically, is you having faith in something, in most religions, I feel like, is not based on materialistic things at all. More spiritual, more people, more loved ones, friendships, more things like that, connections. That's what faith is built off of, connections with things. So if it's a material thing, it can't have a connection because it's material. So believe in your faith, love your faith, trust in your faith, but don't ever feel like you have to give something physical or material to someone else, another physical being, in the name of your faith, if you get what I'm saying. It shouldn't be like that. It should have never been like that, because that's not what it is about. It's about sharing love, care, respect, dignity, holding values, morals, and just helping your next man or woman and being the best version of you every day. That's what I feel like faith and religion is meant for. And once we start getting into the material things like, oh, donations, oh, help us, we need, that's when it kind of gets into shaky water, because if you strip everything away from this world, what are you left with? You strip all these buildings, all these houses, all the fractional banking, if you know, banks, all that stuff, what do you really have left? That's what's really important. That's how I think about it. You strip everything away from here, you don't need nothing realistically besides what you can make for yourself. What's important? And I feel like we have to ask ourselves those same questions, and I don't think we do enough. But situations like this happen because of that, and we see it more and more every day. Some of us choose to see it and change it, others just see it, continue with it, and the third group, they're the ones doing it. So that's just how it goes. Let me get back to the video.
She also had a few sketchy friendships. She accepted millions from Charles Keating, a guy who stole from elderly people. When someone pointed this out, she didn't give the money back. Instead, she wrote to the court defending him, saying, "I do not know anything about Mr. Keating's business dealings." She knew enough to cash a check. Her advice to poor women?
See?
She went to places where families were starving and told them to keep having more kids. Imagine struggling to feed the kids you already have and being told it's your job to have more. Not super helpful.
Bro,
Having said all
that's
that, Mother
crazy.
Teresa did dedicate her life to helping the poor. She gave up personal comforts and worked in some of the hardest conditions imaginable. She brought global attention to the struggles of the poorest people on Earth. Her methods were questionable and sometimes
Very,
harmful, but
very.
her commitment was something worth recognizing. Let's call her a mixed bag. Next is John Lennon, Mr. Beatles himself. The guy who told the world to give peace a chance while
Johnny on
seemingly
the
giving no one in his personal life the
spotty.
same courtesy. For a man who preached love, harmony, and nonviolence, his real-life
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal
about
loans
the
may
legend.
qualify for help
The
from National Debt
legend.
Relief. Minimum payments could
actions tell a very different story. First, let's start with his violent streak. Lennon openly admitted to physically abusing women, including his first wife, Cynthia. He confessed in a 1980 Playboy interview that he was a quote-unquote hitter and had spent much of his early life consumed by uncontrollable anger.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Cynthia endured years of emotional and physical abuse,
That
which
is
Lennon
really
later tried to
crazy.
dismiss as part of his younger self. But let's be real, there is no excuse for that. And then there's how he treated his son Julian. While Lennon sang about peace and understanding, he openly neglected Julian after his divorce. In fact, Lennon admitted that he had practically no relationship with Julian, and callously referred to him as an unplanned mistake, compared to Sean, his planned son with Yoko Ono. Imagine being a child and hearing your father say that.
He's crazy
publicly.
for that one.
That's not just bad
He's
parenting,
crazy
it's
for that one.
emotional cruelty on another level. But
He's
Lennon's
crazy for
hypocrisy
that
didn't
one.
stop there. He spent the late 1960s and early 1970s preaching world peace, but behind closed doors, his behavior was anything but peaceful. For example, his infamous 1974 Lost Weekend period, where he separated from Yoko, was riddled with drunken brawls and violent outbursts. At one point, he got into a physical altercation with a waitress at the Troubadour Club in Los Angeles after being kicked out for heckling performers.
To me, with the most up respect / disrespect. I think he just doesn't like women for real, for real. I think because me personally, I know me, I know my strain. And then okay, they trying to say he's drunk. All right, cool. I'm drunk. I'm not about to think about hitting a female, bro. I know what I could do. I know what just one little hook could do. You know what I mean? Just one little. I know what that can do. So I just don't think he like women. I think he might have been on the
the peace icon
you
punched a
know. I ain't gotta
waitress.
say too much.
So
You
yeah,
do
he
a
gave
lot.
us music that inspired the world, but his personal life often undermined everything he claimed to stand for. He was not a saint. MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., the man, the legend, and the one whose "I Have a Dream" speech totally redefined history.
Not the king.
But as we've seen, legends aren't perfect. That doesn't mean that MLK wasn't a hero. He was just human, with a few messy chapters in an otherwise extraordinary story.
Messy.
Let's start with his PhD dissertation. In 1991, it was revealed that a few parts of it were plagiarized. And not in a, like, whoops, I forgot a footnote kind of way. Entire sections were lifted from scholars, like Paul Tillich and Edgar Brightman. Now, in MLK's defense, academic standards back then were more like vague suggestions. Boston University investigated and decided to keep his degree intact, basically saying that he changed the world, so let's call it a mulligan.
Bro. And you know what, honestly, bro, it's crazy that we're on his eyes like that, because, okay, let's keep it serious now. Let's keep it serious now. That still doesn't go on today, and either A, the professor doesn't care, or B, they know, and they still don't care, or what is it, or C, right? Hush money. You know what I mean? It just showed me like this. Again, this right here is kind of crazy because stuff like this goes on, stays going on. It's just, again, how do you care about it? Do you care about it? Or are you bribed about it? Or is this a family? You know what I mean? There's just so many different levels when it comes to that stuff. That's why I'd be like, something like this, like, okay, he plagiarized. Okay. If you know, you know, man. It's just one of those situations.
Okay, fair enough. Then there's the FBI, led by J. Edgar Hoover, who apparently made MLK his personal obsession. They wiretapped him, followed him, and claimed he had extramarital affairs. Hoover probably had ulterior motives, like being a colossal racist. But the FBI didn't just pull these allegations out of thin air. Records suggest that MLK's personal life had its complicated moments,
They were wiretapping
including
him?
relationships outside its marriage. Not ideal, but also not exactly an uncommon story for
Come
men
on,
under immense
bro.
pressure and in positions of power. But here's where it gets interesting. None of this dims his legacy. If anything, it makes it more remarkable. MLK wasn't some untouchable saint. He was a flawed, complicated man.
Can we stop with the self-care weeks? Like, what if we did adult weeks instead? Think about it. Instead of laying in bed and rotting away.
Man who still managed to move mountains. Alright, JFK.
That's so crazy.
The guy whose face is on half the schools and airports in America. But
Yeah.
maybe it shouldn't be. Let's talk about the affairs. These weren't just harmless flings, but a pattern of reckless infidelity.
Oh, he
Marilyn
was
Monroe was the
crashing?
most infamous, but JFK's list of
Yeah,
lovers
you know.
extended to multiple women, including Judith Campbell Exner,
Smacked it.
who had ties to mob boss Sam Giancana.
Ah.
Think about that. The President of the United States, during one of the most tense periods in global history, was sleeping with someone linked to organized crime.
Smacked
This
it.
wasn't a personal indiscretion, it was a potential national security threat.
Yeah.
Then there's the sheer volume. Secret Service agents reported smuggling women into the White House, some barely vetted. Again, not a lapse in judgment, but a systemic abuse of power.
Bro, he just
While
wanted to
JFK was
smack
supposed to be
shit.
focused on the Cuban Missile Crisis or civil rights, his attention was frequently elsewhere.
Smacking
Behavior
shit.
that undermines the trust and integrity expected of a leader. His affairs turned what was otherwise a celebrated legacy into one mired in questions about his judgment. We'll talk about Walt Disney, the guy who created the happiest place on earth. That is, unless you happen to work for him or share different political beliefs. On the surface, he's
Yeah.
all about magic
Yeah.
and family values. But dig a little deeper, and suddenly things get less bibbity-bobbity-boo and more, yikes. First up, his ties to the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. A far-right group so subtle they might as well have carried flashing neon signs that read, "We hate communists and maybe a few other groups too." This wasn't a casual, "oh, I attended one meeting" kind of situation. Walt was a proud member of this group, which was notorious for its staunch anti-communist stance. And by staunch, I mean they equated anyone wanting fair labor practices with a Soviet spy. The group also pushed
What?
anti-Semitic rhetoric, which, if you're running an empire based on inclusivity and imagination, isn't a great look.
Yeah.
And speaking of workers, the 1941 animator strike showed Walt's true colors. When his employees asked for better pay and working conditions, he didn't like sprinkle magic pixie dust on their demands.
Yeah.
Instead, he called them communists and radicals, then made it his mission to ruin their careers.
Bro, yo, bro, I'm just thinking in my head, bro, like really, cause like strikes go on today and all that stuff. But imagine you had someone just as big as. Okay, boom. Actually, I found a great example. That's like what's going on with Amazon right now, and Jeff Bezos going out and be like, you communists, you radicals. You're gonna be like, wait, what? Bro, that's why I'm like, back in the day was such a crazy time. But honestly, I don't know. Is now crazier than back then? I don't really. Some might argue, bro. I don't know. But
Think of him as the original villain in the fight for workers' rights, but instead of twirling a mustache, he sicked the House Un-American Activities Committee on anyone who dared to cross him. Walt's approach to unions and his far-right affiliations paint a picture that's a lot darker than the one on Main Street, USA. Like, yeah, he gave us Mickey Mouse, but for his workers, this could not have been further from a fairy tale ending. Anyway, YouTube thinks that you'll like this video next, so click it. Also, subscribe. Great people.
alright. That is the end of the video. If you made it to the end, I appreciate and love every single one of y'all. We're gonna keep on going with these videos, keep on growing the channel, show the love, all that shit. Keep growing Ice Gang, all its get it to its final form. I don't know what that final form, but get into its final form. But comment down below, what do you think was the craziest person that you heard weren't good? Who do you think was the craziest one out of all of these? Mine probably have to be Gandhi, bro. Just cause like how you think of Gandhi, how you think of him, and the person he is, him doing that, and then Mother Teresa too is kind of wacky, but I wasn't too surprised because I know how religion gets for some. If you know, you know. But Gandhi, crazy work. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a family member. I love y'all. Enjoy the rest of whatever y'all doing. And Ice Gang, Iceman, out.